What's up, guys? San Antonio Sports Center. We're going to be going over a college football game preview over the 2019 Outback Bowl between number 18 Minnesota and number 12 Auburn. This should be an interesting game here and pretty intriguing as well. Minnesota lost to number 12 Wisconsin in the last game of the regular season, 17-38. And Minnesota really hasn't been as good as they were at one part of the season, that's for sure. We'll go over more about that in a sec. But Auburn beat number 5 Alabama 48-45. And this Auburn team is in its prime for the 2019 season, no doubt. Some key stats from these games. For Minnesota, they had Tanner Morgan, 20 for 37, 296 yards, and 2 touchdowns. As for Auburn, of course, Bo Nix, 15 for 30, 173 yards, and 1 touchdown to go along with that. This game's going to be on Wednesday, January 1st, 1 p.m. Eastern Time in Tampa, Florida. Spread currently says Auburn by 7. ESPN FPI is saying Auburn as well, 72%. And then surprisingly enough, Vegas is actually saying Minnesota by a point, 33-32. And I don't really understand some of the choices that Vegas prediction is making this bowl season. I mean, man, we've seen some really interesting selections by the Vegas, but yeah, I mean, then again, it's still 2-1 for Auburn in this situation. Here's your stat comparison as well. Minnesota's got 34.3 points per game, 22.4 points allowed per game, 251 pass yards, 175 rush yards, as well as far as yards allowed go, they allow 184 pass yards and 127 rush yards. So this Minnesota team does have a pretty good secondary. That's something that Auburn's going to have to remember. Auburn's got 34 points per game, 18.6 points allowed per game, as well as 210 pass yards, 211 rush yards. So this is a big-time rushing team. And also as far as yards allowed, 208 pass yards and 115 rush yards. So overall, I mean, Auburn has got a really good rushing game, that's for sure. And they also have a good rushing defense. Overall, I mean, Auburn all around is a great team. They were able to beat Alabama, which I think Alabama, especially the College Football Playoff Committee, they didn't give them enough credit. And I'm not sure why Auburn got placed in a game against Michigan. Honestly, I mean, Alabama's a much better team than what people are saying at this point. But back to this game, though, yeah, record-wise, Minnesota is 10-2, and Auburn is 9-3 here. Here's our previous 5 games. Once again, Minnesota has lost 2 of their last 3. They lost to Wisconsin 17-38. They did beat Northwestern, though, 38-22. Well, I mean, overall, though, that's any normal win. Northwestern isn't all that special. They lost to Iowa by 4, 19-23. They did beat Penn State. Once again, I mean, that was the big game that set off Minnesota's season. And honestly, ever since that game, Minnesota has been on a downfall. We've not seen them play near their potential or near where they were playing before that game against Penn State. I mean, the Penn State game was great, but I mean, since then, they just haven't been as good as they seem to be. For Auburn, they did beat Alabama. They also shut out Samford. Obviously, that should have happened. They lost to Georgia by a touchdown. Because overall, I mean, that's not all that bad of a loss, only by a touchdown. They did beat Ole Miss by 6, kind of tight there. And they did lose to LSU by 3. So they kept it close with LSU and Georgia. And they also kept it close with Ole Miss, I guess. But then again, I mean, this Auburn team has been playing very well down the stretch. Even though they lost 2 of their last 5, that's to number 4 Georgia and number 2 LSU, which LSU is now in the national championship, and Georgia is still a really great team. So you can't really consider those 2 bad of losses. Here's our key points as well for this one. Minnesota had a great season, no doubt about it. I thought Minnesota was going to have a good season, but man, this has been really, really good for this Minnesota team. Great for their program to have a year like this. And PJ Fleck, you got to give credit to him. He's really turned around this program very well. Auburn has played a very tough schedule, no doubt. They've played a tougher schedule than Minnesota. I mean, both teams are great, but Auburn has played a more difficult schedule. Minnesota has lost momentum, though. That's a big concern of mine in this game. I mean, they've lost 2 of the last 5, and that was a blowout loss to Wisconsin in there as well. So you got to consider that. So Minnesota's going to have to regain their momentum back if they're going to win this one. Auburn is coming off of a big win as well. I mean, they beat Alabama, a big-time rival in the Iron Bowl. So they're going to be fired up and ready to go for this game, no doubt. I mean, honestly, motivation is not a big concern of mine in this game. I think both teams are going to be very, very motivated. So that's definitely, I don't think that's going to have any impacts on this one. How would each team win? I'd say if either team can get out and get up by 2 or 3 touchdowns, that should give either team the win. But in this case, honestly, for Minnesota, you got to start fast, no doubt. I mean, if Auburn gets up on you, that could be a big problem. I mean, for Minnesota, I mean, they've kind of collapsed in this later part of the season, so it would be difficult for Minnesota to come back in this situation. But your halftime score will be 17-17. I think we'll see a tie, and then your final score will be a Auburn 31-27 win. I think Auburn wins this one. I mean, even though Auburn has a worse record than Minnesota, I think Minnesota just does not have the rhythm going right now. and Auburn clearly does. I mean, they were able to beat Alabama in a big time shootout. So really for Auburn, I mean, they're going to be very confident coming into this game, no doubt about that. So yeah, they win this one by 31-27. But overall, this is going to be a great game. Really looking forward to this one and seeing how these two teams match up. But yeah, for Minnesota, once again, can't start slow, and then you'll be fine. But nonetheless, let me know your thoughts on this game in the comments below. Do you think that Minnesota can pull the win? Let me know your score predictions as well. I like to hear you guys' score predictions. Those are always fun to look at as well. We got a couple more bowl games coming up, so be sure to stay tuned for those. Show some support if you'd like to, and I will see you all later.